93 million miles away, the sun breathes. Days later, the sky above us shimmers with its exhale. Curtains of fire, waves of red and green. For the Norse, it was the armor of the Valkyries. For the Cree, the voices of ancestors. For us, it is a reminder that Earth still dances on the edge of cosmic storms. This is the story of omens, science, and the lights that whisper in the sky. Welcome back to Whispered Chronicles, Echoes of Forgotten Lore. Tonight, we delve into auroras and what they are, as well as how our ancestors might have viewed them. The science of the skyfire. The aurora's story doesn't start here on Earth. It begins far away, on the blazing surface of the sun, a star that is never still, never silent. The sun breathes, it shudders, it crackles with storms, and with every exhale, it sends a river of fire into space. What scientists call the solar wind. Most days, that wind is gentle by cosmic standards. A steady stream of invisible particles flowing at 300 kilometers per second. But the sun has moods. Sometimes it lashes out, and that stream becomes a torrent, racing twice as fast, carrying with it the raw energy of the star itself. And every so often, the sun hurls out something far greater, a coronal mass ejection, a titanic wave of plasma. Billions of tons of matter ripped from its surface, carrying tangled magnetic fields across millions of miles. Now picture Earth, a fragile blue world adrift in that storm. We are shielded by an invisible guardian, the magnetosphere. It is our planet's magnetic skin, a bubble stretched out into space, bent backward like a comet's tail under the constant push of the solar wind. Most of the sun's fury slides past the shield, but not all. Some particles slip inside, caught in the magnetic currents, drawn down along invisible lines toward Earth's poles. And when they fall, they strike our upper atmosphere, the thin, icy reaches of the thermosphere and ionosphere, 50 to 400 miles above us. Their atoms of oxygen and nitrogen awaken. Struck by solar fire, they glow. They release photons, tiny packets of light, and in doing so, they paint the sky. That's why the aurora shimmers in color. Oxygen low in the sky burns emerald green, the most familiar hue. Higher up, oxygen glows a rare blood red, haunting and strange. Nitrogen joins with flashes of violet and blue, like sparks at the edges of a flame. The lights don't just appear. They move. They ripple and unfurl like curtains caught in a celestial breeze. Sometimes they gather into a corona, fanning out above you as though the heavens themselves are opening. Sometimes they pulse like a heartbeat, fading and returning as though the sky were alive. Centuries ago, Galileo looked up at these lights and called them Aurora Borealis, the dawn of the north. He thought it was sunlight reflected from the atmosphere, a guess that was beautiful but wrong. Later, Edmund Halley linked the lights to Earth's magnetic field. He was closer, but the full truth only emerged in the 20th century. When a Norwegian scientist, Christian Birkeland, built a miniature Earth in his laboratory. He placed it in a magnetic field, fired electrons at it, and watched glowing rings form around the poles. At last, the mystery was solved. The aurora was Earth's magnetic shield, lit by the breath of the sun. And here's the wonder. Every aurora you see is not of this moment. Those particles dancing above you tonight began their journey days ago, leaving the sun and racing through the void. By the time they reach us, they are ancient messengers of a storm long past. What you see is light with a memory. The aurora clings to the edges of the world, circling the poles in shimmering ovals. In Norway, Finland, Alaska, Greenland, Antarctica. But when the sun grows especially fierce, the ovals widen. The lights march farther from their frozen homes, appearing in places where people are unprepared. London, New York, even as far south as Cuba during the Great Storm of 1859. That storm, the Carrington Event, was so powerful it set telegraph wires on fire and painted the sky with red auroras no one had ever seen. Imagine being alive then, with no satellites, no plasma physics, just crimson skies burning overhead. It must have felt like the end of the world. Today, scientists call this space weather. They measure it on scales of G1 to G5, from minor flickers to planet-shaking storms. We know the risks. Satellites failing, power grids collapsing, GPS unraveling. And yet, standing beneath those living curtains of light, those risks seem far away. What we feel instead is awe, a reminder that earth and sun are bound together in an ancient dance. One exhaling, the other glowing in reply. Every aurora is a whisper from the cosmos, a secret carried across millions of miles. A story written in light, a message painted on the sky. The omens in the sky. For as long as humans have walked beneath the heavens, the aurora has been more than just light. It has been an omen, a sign, a messenger from realms we could not see. When the night sky suddenly burned with green fire or bled with crimson arcs, our ancestors searched for meaning. And across the world, they found it. The Norse and the Valkyries. In the frozen north where the aurora shines brightest, the Vikings believed the lights were the armor of the Valkyries. Imagine it. Warriors fallen in battle, their souls carried to Valhalla. While above them, the Valkyries rode, their shining shields flashing in the night sky. The flickering curtains were the reflection of those shields, a cosmic battlefield laid across the heavens. Some stories say the aurora was the Bifrost Bridge itself, the shimmering rainbow road between Midgard and Asgard, linking mortals to the gods. To stand beneath the lights, then, was to stand at the threshold of eternity. Medieval Europe. Warnings of blood farther south. In medieval Europe, the aurora was no blessing. Red skies, in particular, filled people with dread. Chroniclers recorded auroras blazing before plagues, wars, and famines in the year 1561. Strange lights over Nuremberg were described alongside battles in the heavens, fiery spheres and crosses in the sky. Too many, the aurora was divine wrath, the heavens opening to foretell catastrophe. When the Black Death swept through Europe in the 14th century, there were whispers that crimson auroras had appeared beforehand, as though the sky itself bled in warning. Inuit and First Nations. Spirits at play among the Inuit of Alaska. The lights were more personal. They were the spirits of the dead, still among the living. Some said the aurora was the souls of ancestors playing a game in the sky, tossing a walrus skull like a ball. Others believed the lights were lanterns carried by spirits guiding hunters safely home. The Cree people saw them as ancestors dancing in the night, a bridge of communication between the living and the departed. But there was danger too. To whistle at the aurora was to invite it closer, perhaps too close. Some believed the lights could descend and snatch you away if you dared to mock them. The dragons of Asia and Japan, the aurora was rare but unforgettable. To those who witnessed it, the lights were dragons slithering through the heavens, glowing serpents twisting above the world. In China, ancient court records describe auroras as celestial banners, long streamers unfurling in the emperor's skies. Such events were woven into the rhythms of dynasty and fate, good omens or dire warnings, depending on their color and form. The Chinese believed heaven and the emperor were bound together. So when the skies blazed with light, it was not random. It was a verdict on earthly rule. The fires of Finland among the people of Finland. The aurora was known as Revanchelit, foxfires. The story tells of a magical Arctic fox racing across the snow. With every sweep of its tail, it struck sparks that leaped into the sky, setting it alight. In this vision, the aurora was playful, a dance of fur and flame against the frozen north. Maidens, fairies, and dancers. Elsewhere, the stories are just as strange. In Estonia, people believed the lights were maidens dancing across the heavens, a celestial festival just out of reach. In 19th century Scotland, auroras were tied to fairy activity, their flickering lights a reminder that another realm was close. Across Siberia, legends said the lights were the torches of spirits guiding souls into the afterlife. A shared human response, different lands, different beliefs, but all share one thing: the sense that the aurora was alive. It was never just light in the sky. It was warriors or spirits, gods or monsters, foxes or dragons. It was beauty laced with danger, wonder edged with fear. To stand beneath an aurora in the ancient world was to be caught in a moment that blurred the line between heaven and earth. A reminder that the sky was not empty, but filled with powers beyond comprehension. Science meets prophecy. The Aurora has always balanced on a strange edge. Part wonder, part warning. To ancient eyes, it was prophecy, the sky itself speaking in fire. And even today, with satellites and equations, that sense of omen hasn't entirely vanished. Because the lights are more than beauty, they are also the visible face of a storm. The Carrington Event. Fire in the wires. In the year 1859, the world awoke beneath skies of blood and emerald. Auroras spilled across continents, reaching as far south as Cuba and Hawaii. But this was no simple light show. It was the most powerful solar storm ever recorded, the Carrington Event. Telegraph wires, the lifeline of the 19th century, sparked and caught fire. Operators reported being shocked by their own equipment. Some could send messages even with the batteries disconnected, the wires themselves alive with electricity from the storm. Imagine it. No satellites, no power grids, no radio towers. And yet the Earth's thin layer of technology was brought to its knees by the breath of the sun. To people of the time, the crimson auroras were terrifying, like the end of days. Chroniclers wrote of skies ablaze with blood and cities bathed in eerie light. To scientists, it was a revelation. Proof that the sunstorms could strike Earth directly with devastating power. Storms of the 20th century. The Carrington Event of 1859 was not the last whisper of the sun's anger. The 20th century brought its own reminders that the aurora's beauty hides a dangerous power. The storm of 1921. The New York Railroad storm. On May 13th to 15th of 1921, Earth was struck by one of the most powerful geomagnetic storms ever recorded, rivaled only by Carrington. It is remembered as the New York Railroad storm because its effects were felt most dramatically in the heart of America's industry and transit. Telegraph and telephone lines across the United States and Europe erupted in sparks. In some cases, entire switchboards caught fire. Operators scrambled to disconnect wires, but the surges were relentless. In New York, the storm set fire to a telegraph station at the Brewster Building in Manhattan. In Sweden, telephone exchange stations were damaged, circuits overloaded by currents that shouldn't have existed, railroads were thrown into chaos. Automatic signal systems malfunctioned, switches jammed, and control wires burned out. Some trains were delayed. Others ran dangerously without proper signals. For days, newspapers reported mysterious electrical disturbances and skies glowing red across Europe, America, and even in Asia. Imagine being a traveler on a night train, seeing the skies ablaze with crimson light, while the railway signals ahead of you flickered and failed. Too many, it must have felt like the world was sliding into some final catastrophe. The storm of 1989, Quebec in darkness. Then came March 13th, 1989, just before dawn. A massive solar storm swept into Earth's magnetosphere. Within 90 seconds, the entire electrical grid of Hydro-Quebec collapsed. 6 million people across the Canadian province were suddenly without power. The blackout lasted 9 hours in the dead of winter. Schools closed, businesses shut down, and the Montreal Metro ground to a halt. Power transformers as far away as New Jersey were damaged, some permanently. The storm also disrupted satellites. NASA's TDRS-1 communications satellite lost control for hours, spinning wildly before engineers recovered it. In space, the shuttle Discovery was orbiting Earth during the storm. Astronauts reported strange readings, and the mission control team worried about radiation exposure. Meanwhile, in the skies, auroras spread across North America. People in Texas and Florida reported green and red lights dancing overhead, sights usually reserved for the Arctic Circle. Over New England, the aurora was so bright it could be mistaken for dawn. For scientists, this was a chilling preview of what a true Carrington-level storm could do to our modern technology-dependent world. The shadow behind the lights. The storms of 1921 and 1989 were separated by nearly 70 years. But they told the same story. The aurora is never just decoration. It is a signal of power, a reminder that the sun's breath can ignite fires in our wires, silence satellites, and plunge entire cities into darkness. To stand beneath those lights, then, is to witness both beauty and danger. The same curtains that dance across the heavens can carry the weight of catastrophe, the fragile present. Telegraph wires may be gone, but in their place, we have woven a far more delicate web. Satellites wheeled endlessly above us. Fiber optic cables lace the oceans. Electrical grids hum with power. Every moment of modern life, aircraft navigation, banking systems, communications, even the glow of the screen you hold in your hand, depends on an invisible architecture of technology, and all of it is vulnerable. A storm on the scale of 1859, striking today, would not just spark telegraphs or darken a single province. It could blind satellites, silencing weather forecasts and communications. It could confuse GPS, throwing off aircraft and ships. It could topple power grids, plunging entire nations into darkness. Scientists warn that the damage might not be counted in millions, but in trillions. Not the blackout of a city, but of civilization itself. And yet here's the irony. The aurora, the very lights we marvel at, are the warning signs. Each shimmer of green or ripple of red is a flare of alarm, telling us that Earth's magnetosphere is under siege. To scientists, these lights are not just a spectacle, but a coded message. The planet is holding its breath beneath a storm. I tell you these things not to scare you, but to make you more informed about the world around us. Prophecy in light. Here is where myth and science meet. Long ago, when people saw the heavens blaze, they believed they were glimpsing fate. Omens of plague, famine, or war. They were wrong about the cause. Not gods in battle, not spirits calling down disaster. And yet, they were not wrong in the feeling, because the aurora is a sign of upheaval. Not divine armies clashing, but a star reaching across 93 million miles, touching the fragile systems we have built. A reminder that the cosmos is still in motion, still capable of shaking us to our core. It is both truth and poetry. To the Norse, the lights were Valkyries, their armor glittering as they carried the fallen. To the Cree, they were ancestors, voices shimmering in the night sky. To scientists, they are plasma and magnetism. Measured in Tesla and Gauss, cataloged on scales from G1 to G5, different languages, same heartbeat. The aurora means change. It means the world is shifting, whether in spirit, in myth, or in science. The dance of fear and beauty. And so, we find ourselves standing beneath the lights, just as our ancestors did. Awed, afraid, entranced. We speak words they never knew. Solar, wind, magnetosphere, coronal mass ejection. But when the heavens ripple with fire, words fall away. What remains is silence, the same silence they once felt. The aurora's prophecy dressed in physics. It is omen written in plasma. It is, and always has been, a message from the sun. And so, the lights fade. The curtains of fire drifting back into silence. But the question remains, what are they really? To some, they are nothing more than solar, wind, and plasma, a storm of particles painting our sky. To others, they are omens. Messages from ancestors, gods, or forces beyond. Perhaps they are both. Perhaps the truth lies in the space between. Every culture, every age has looked upward and wondered. And tonight, so do we. Beneath the shimmering veil of the aurora, we are bound to the same awe as our ancestors. A reminder that we are small, yet part of something vast. This has been Whispered Chronicles, Echoes of Forgotten Lore. If these whispers stirred your imagination, let them guide you back here again. Subscribe so you do not miss the next journey into shadows and secrets. Until then, keep watching the skies. Keep listening for what the universe has yet to say. And above all, stay safe.